Hey, greetings, it's Jerry here. I was just about to set up this LinkTap controller, and I thought perhaps I'd do an unboxing video and maybe explain why I think this is the best tap controller on the market today. Okay, so I did open the box, but then I closed it again because I thought I would make the video. I have a number of these controllers, been using them for quite some time. So, yeah. Got our instructions. This is the unit. It comes with a spare sealing ring and two of these connectors. So this is the unit here. This is the dual tap unit, and it is very, very heavy. This is a heavy duty thing, and I need to get this up and running because the weather's turning very, very hot at the moment, and I need to water the garden. I have a lot of plants that need watering, and this is by far the best unit that I have found so far to do that job. It also comes with a screwdriver, which I'd removed before. Apologise for the quality of the video. I don't know what's going on since I updated my OBS. So I'm going to put some batteries in this. One of the things that I love about this is the attention to detail. This is why you can tell it's a quality product, because I'm unscrewing these screws and I know that these screws will not fall out. Can you see that? They've actually got retainers in there that stop you losing the screws. That's what I mean by attention to detail. It's really a lot of thought's gone into this product. So it takes 4 AA batteries. Now 4 AA batteries gives this unit a lifetime of 2 years, I believe. I have to look back through the manual, but I believe you get 2 years before you have to change it again. And like I said, I've used this. What am I doing? Yeah, dyslexic me can get it wrong every single time. Yeah. So yeah, so for 4 AA batteries you get about 2 years, and this actually has a power monitor which will tell you and how the batteries are going, and I think it might even alert you when the batteries are getting low. But that's it. So I've now connected that. It's got a manual on-off switch there to turn the power on or off if you happen not to be using it. Now I can put on these things, which I guess were only removed for packaging purposes. And let me tell you, these are high quality gear. I mean, these don't leak. This is my 4th unit. None of them leak at all. None of these fittings leak. Yeah, and that's it. So now I need to connect this to my gateway. So when you buy this unit, you buy a unit with a gateway, and the gateway connects it to your internal network. This does not use Wi-Fi. That's the reason that you get 2 years worth of power out of it. It's not using Wi-Fi. I think that it's using perhaps Zigbee protocol or LoRa. Basically, it goes much further than Wi-Fi does. Of course, it uses less energy, so you get longer life for the batteries, but it does mean that when you buy this unit, you have to buy it with a gateway. And the gateway is just a little box that you connect via a physical cable into your home router, and then it allows all of these TapLinks units to connect to it, And hopefully you only need one, but I'm on a very large property, 2 acres. And so I've actually got 2 of the gateways. I think you can have up to 4 or 5 of these gateways scattered around your house. And these guys will connect to the nearest one if they don't have enough power to connect to wherever it is. But basically I found that I only needed the second gateway when I put one very far away. I'm actually a split story house, and I have my gateway connected in my basement. Okay, so I need to now add this to my configuration. I've got my mobile phone app here, and I'm just going to go, I don't know how clear that is. I'm just going to go to settings, tap linker, valve tap, and I'm going to add a new device, and then I can scan this QR barcode at the bottom, the unit, and that's it. It's now connected. So it's not turned on. So I'll turn the unit on and it should connect to the gateway, and eventually these not connected should go to connected. And now I'm ready to configure them and start using this unit. Simple as that. Okay, so let me find the new tap linker, I guess it's called. So that has 2 ports on it, and I'm just going to rename this to main 1. So this is at the front of my house, and I'll edit this one. Main 2. Okay, so I've got my main 1 and main 2. I've only got one thing hose connected at the moment to main 1. I want to create a watering plan. And what I can do is I can copy a watering plan that already exists. For instance, I've got a watering plan called Poolside, and I'll just copy that. And I think that was an interval mode. Yeah, so this is the plan that was copied. So watering twice a day at 7 and at 5 for 30 minutes each. And I could just activate that. That's it. So I've now set up, you know, a watering plan for the new tap link device. And yeah, you can see it there. So let me show you some other features. So I've got a watering plan, but I can also just hit, you know, instant watering on, and, you know, I can water by, you know, 5 minutes, 10 minutes or something like that. But I can also water by volume. Okay, and this is a really important feature for me, is the fact that this device has flow meters built into each of the ports. It knows exactly, well, pretty much how many liters of water it's using. Now, I had a problem where I basically didn't know how much water I was using in my garden until I get a bill. And one year I got a very large bill, which is what prompted me to go and find a device with a flow meter in it, so I could actually figure out how much water I was using every time I watered. And this is great because you actually get a graph, and you can see I watered today, and it's given me a graph of how much I watered, And also, if you enter in the amount that water costs you, it will actually calculate the cost. So it cost me 18 cents to water for how much? For 23 minutes, I think that is. Yeah, and it keeps track of your spending amongst other things. And that is really important for me because I have a lot of plants that I'm watering and I want to keep them alive because they cost me a lot of money to buy and to put in there. But at the same time, I can't afford to have an exorbitant water bill. And so understanding how much water I'm actually using is one thing. The other thing is actually being able to have the features in this device to stop watering, or to water by liters, or also to tell me if something's gone wrong. So I can set figures in here to basically say this is how much I expect to water over this time period, and if there's something's gone wrong with the watering systems, for instance somebody's cut the hose and water is just gushing out everywhere, this will actually alert me to that, and it will actually automatically stop the watering cycle. So I'll show you those features because they are killer features as far as I'm concerned. So I'm just going to go in here and we'll take a look at some of the features. So we've got this fault alerts section, which is disabled by default. Basically, obviously it's saying things like, hey, yeah, we do our best to figure out how much water is coming out and all these other things. You know, please be aware that, you know, it can't ever be perfect. That's fine. So the first thing is tap link fall alert. So the fall alert, I'm not really sure, but basically right now it's communicating with the device and it will be getting the angle that the device is currently at. So if the device comes off the tap, for instance, it will fall over and it will detect that. What it's actually really useful for is if somebody comes along and disconnects it from the tap and then just lays it on the ground, this will tell you that that's what's occurred. I think that's what it's for. And that has happened to me. And this is one of my biggest bugbears, is that when tradies or contractors come to my property, they will often mess with the taps on my property. They'll go to wash their hands and they'll see that there's some sort of device attached to it. And they just don't care. They'll just go, oh, what's that? And they'll remove it. Or, you know, sometimes they figure out how to use it, they wash their hands, and then they turn the tap off. And so no water will come out. So these features are really crucial for this. So the first one is the fall alert, if the device falls off the tap or is taken off the tap. The next one is the water shut off alert. All right, so I'll enable that. If the flow meter detects water flowing from within 45 seconds after the valve is closed, an alert will be sent out. Okay, so you can adjust this parameter. It says, please adjust this parameter if necessary. Decreasing its value may increase the likelihood of a false alert. So basically, it's saying that if the valve wants to turn itself off, and then water is still flowing, it knows that there's a problem and it will alert you. So water cutoff or stop flowing alert will enable that. If the flow meter does not detect water flowing within 30 seconds after the valve is opened, an alert will be sent out. Okay, and this is the case I was telling you about. Somebody comes to your property and turns the tap off. You need to know that, but you could be on holiday, you know, and someone's come and turned your tap off and none of your plants are getting watered. And you come back and all your plants are dead. Unusually high flow alert. This is fantastic. So you can set the normal liters per minute that you're expecting for this to come out, and you usually do this by not enabling it first off, watering your plants, and then looking to see how many litres per minute it uses. And then you punch in a figure in here that is a bit higher than that amount. So the scenario is, well, in my case, I've got a whole bunch of drippers attached to a line. And if the head of one of those drippers flies off, all of a sudden the rate of flow of water per minute goes up dramatically. Like 10 litres a minute or something like that. And this will detect that, and it will actually stop the watering sequence and send you a message. And by the way, this is connected to the internet. You get these alerts will come to you no matter where you are in the world. And with this app, you can turn your taps on and off and do all of these things anywhere in the world. So basically, this is a really important one. And I've had cases where I've had a fox. I'm sure I've had a fox come along and bite into my hose, and then I've got water gushing out everywhere, and plants aren't going to get watered because there's too much water coming out where it's been bitten into. And of course, this will detect that there's too much water flowing per minute, and it will tell me. And so I'm going to allow it to automatically shut off the water if an unusually high flow is detected. And there's a manual button on these devices. So if you just want to go outside and just physically press the button to do some watering, you can tell this to bypass that. So that would come in handy if you're going to detach your watering system and plug a hose in, and you just wanted to use it as a normal hose. And we've also got unusually low flow alert. So, if something happens, say somebody doesn't turn off, somebody turns off the tap, or perhaps something's wrong with the filter and you're not getting enough water in, this can alert you to the fact that you're not getting as much water as it expects you to. And we're going to allow the system to automatically turn that off. Right, and well, there's my email address. You can put in an email address where to send an email if that happens, but it also comes up on the app. Yeah, and so there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes on here. There is a flow meter correction factor. Obviously that's just there to allow you to correct the calculation that the flow meter. So the flow meter might not be 100% accurate, but it's pretty accurate in my opinion from what I've seen. And I have now, this is my 4th device, and I'm keeping an eye on how much I'm watering, obviously. So one of the big problems that I had was I didn't know how much water I was using. I had absolutely no idea. I have a lot of plants. So for instance, in one section of the garden, I have like 70 or even 80 plants, like 30 rose plants and 40 bushes that I'm trying to grow. And I'm watering each of those off a single tap-link device using a dripper system. And what I noticed when I didn't have this system here, when I had no idea how much water was actually flowing, was I noticed that some of the plants weren't getting enough water. So the plants down the end of the line, and I'm on a hill, right? I'm on a hill. And so some of those plants down the very end weren't getting enough water. And so I would water more during summer in order to make up for that fact. And then at the end of the year, I got a huge water bill for all the extra water that I was using. And it made me think, why is that occurring? How can I monitor it? And what it turned out to be was the drippers that I was using were not pressure reduced drippers. So what they would do is they would just push as much water as possible they could out of the dripper. And they were variable drippers. You could twist a thing and you could let more water out, and You could screw them up and not so much water would pass through. And the idea is you'd adjust them for every plant. But that's fraught with all sorts of problems. So when I eventually went to pressure drippers, and they have a fixed rate, so let's say that's 2 liters per hour, you know exactly how much water is coming out of those drippers at any point in time. It's 2 liters. That's the maximum that can come out. And because they're pressurized, it means that the water doesn't disappear from the watering system when you stop watering. So with the non-pressurized one, basically all the water would leak out to the bottommost one on the hill. And then when you turn the water back on, it would have to pressurize the whole thing. So moving to fixed pressure drippers made a huge difference to the way that I watered and how much water that I used. But of course, the other thing was that actually allowed me to really understand how much it was costing me. So in this system, you can see here, there's a little graph here. This graph actually tells you exactly how much water was used by this particular device on a particular day. And if you put a cost in per litre, or it's not per litre, per 1,000 litres, I think, it can actually give you a cost. So it cost me, for 23 minutes of watering today through this tap, it cost me 18 cents, right? And this happens for all of the devices, and there's even an accumulated one somewhere. Where is it? You can, all watering history, right? And I've got a graph of all of the water that I've used on a particular day and the cost. And you can see here that there's also a thing here. You can enable a feature because it's hooked into the internet, obviously, and it knows the weather in my particular part of the world, in my suburb actually, and it can skip watering if there's going to be a lot of rain happening on a particular day, and it even shows you how much you've saved by doing that. So, you know, I've accumulated, you know, over all of my, this is all of the information over all of my taps. And there's a dollar figure there, $70.23 for 30 days. It's not quite that much. I have an awful lot of water during summer that I'm actually watering. I have hundreds of plants because I'm on a two acre property, and I'm trying to repopulate a lot of the vegetation on my property. And another problem that I have on this is my ground is virtually all of it is clay, and I have never gardened in clay very much before, and I didn't understand what happens in clay ground when you're on a side of a steep hill. So what I found was happening was that basically I had seen waterlogged clay before. I think anyone who's ever dug into clay during winter has seen waterlogged clay, and I was under the impression that clay hung on to water, and that your problem would be that your plants would get too much water. You know, they'd get saturated. But it's actually the opposite for me. So what ends up happening is that any water that goes into the ground basically gets almost sucked down, goes straight through the clay, and then goes straight down the hill, right? So it's pointless to water a lot. So because any extra water is just going to be sucked past the roots and down the hill. And you know, the plants at the bottom of the hill, yeah, they get a lot of water, but anything that's up on the side of the hill or at the top, you know, doesn't get very much water. So the idea is that I water twice a day, just enough water to soak into the roots. This is during summer, and summer's very hot here in Australia. And that seems to work very well for me, right? There's no point me watering for a couple of hours, you know, every second, third day or something like that. All that water is going to disappear. And that's the other reason for using drippers, is that you just want a very small amount of water going into the ground at any one time, exactly at the spot where the plant is. I think another feature of the watering plans also is that you can do this watering system where it can water for a minute and then stop, and for a minute and then water for another minute and then stop and then water for another minute. That's sort of designed for watering on places where the water has a tendency to run off. So for instance, if you're watering the grass on a steep hill and you watered it and then it never got a chance to soak in, it would just keep rolling on down the hill the entire time. So you could water for a minute and then the water could sit there, hopefully soak into the ground, and then you'd water for another minute and do stuff like that. So there's a whole bunch of watering plans and things like that that you can set with this system. Yeah, so what else can I show you? So you can see here that it's hooked into the local weather, so it can it knows to pause watering if you choose to enable that when it's about to rain the next day. I can show you what devices are currently watering. It can pause all of the devices. It can enable so, you know, we've been through the watering history, shows you how much you have used, how many litres, what it's cost you if you've put in that cost. Watering plans, we can do batch watering. So batch watering, I think, is where you just enable all of your taps and then say, okay, all of your taps water for 20 minutes or something like that. And you can do it by gateways if you have multiple gateways. So down here is the notifications section. So these are the notifications. It'll send you a notification saying that the watering has ended, the watering has started. It'll send you a notification to say that there's been a problem with a particular tap. Like I said to you, the flow alerts and things like that. Yeah, and this is connected to the internet. So my understanding is that if the internet goes down here, let's say I'm on holiday and the internet goes down so that the gateways, so that none of the taps are actually connected to the internet, they will continue on with their current plan until they reconnect to the internet, and then you'll be able to see what they've done and perhaps decide to stop, to change what they're doing if that was what you wanted to do. I think that the very early models of this, perhaps once it was disconnected from the internet, they wouldn't do anything. But I'm almost 100% sure that all of the later models will continue their watering plans if they're connected to the internet or not. So my takeaway from this is I've been using this unit for, my first unit I got about 12 months ago. I had no problems at all with it. I love the app. I love that it's so easy to use. This is a big thing that seems to be wrong with watering systems, is that you know, they need to be of any use to anyone. They need to be simple to use, and you can see, you know, just from here, I can do anything that I want. I can say instant watering on this particular tap, turn this off. It's very easy to add new watering schedules, to enable skipping. You know, if it's raining, you know, all of these things that you want to do, they're right there, and then you can drill down onto all the information and enable all of these extra cool things like the flow alerts and you know, the automatic shut off if there's too much water coming out or there's not enough water coming out. I mean, that's the real amazing thing to me about this. I'm in complete control of how much I water and when I water and the cost of the watering. And that's critical to me, to be able to trust this system. Because if I go away for 2 weeks and during summer, I could kill all of my plants if they're not getting water, you know, if they're not established, they're not getting enough water. Or if I go away and something happens, as I say, like a fox chews through my hoses or something like that, and I'm just gushing water out everywhere, it could cost me an awful lot of money if 2 weeks later I come back from holiday and find that the watering system has just been gushing out water. So yeah, so these are not the cheapest units in the world. I think they're well worth the money that you pay for them. They are incredibly well made. It's like every feature you could possibly want is built into it. The app is obviously been very carefully thought about. And yeah, I'm just in love with this system. So, you know, I hope that is of some use to somebody. I know trying to get a reliable watering system that you don't have to basically dig into the ground and get plumbing connected and stuff like that is really difficult. And I think this is the best system that I've seen so far. Anyway.